What's going on, everybody? It's your favorite great boy, Brendan, and today we're going to be doing a book review of the first book in the Darth Bane trilogy, Path of Destruction, by Drew Karpyshyn. Now, for those of you who follow the channel, you might have seen that I've been doing a couple of Star Wars book reviews lately, and I never got into Legends before, unfortunately. I'm giving it a try now, especially with the Essential Legends collection that Disney and Del Rey has put out. So I'm reading each of the 3 books that have been put out so far. The first I read, which we're talking about now, Path of Destruction, and I'm also currently reading both Shatterpoint and Heir to the Empire. Both incredible, but for now let's focus on this really incredible book called Path of Destruction. As always, spoilers ahead. So this book is about, for those of you who may have seen the prequels or watched Clone Wars, you would know a little bit about the Sith rule of 2, which is that there can never be more than 2 Lords of the Sith at a time. Now, we've seen multiple people who claim to be part of the Sith over the years, like even when Darth Maul wasn't a Sith anymore, he, was a Sith. He was training his brother Savage. Dooku had a couple of different apprentices. The Emperor may or may not have had someone at the ready at any time. Even back in the day, you had Starkiller, who was training under Vader. But the idea is that the actual Sith Lords, there's only ever 2 Sith Lords, a master and an apprentice. And that's it. Now, and this ideology was made about 1,000 years before the fall of the Republic, and it was made by this Darth Bane. And the book starts with his backstory, how he's a somewhat young kid, probably, I think he was about 18 or so, and he was on a mining planet. He was kind of born on the planet, that's all he ever knew. He had to work to just pay off his piece of crap father's, debt that he had just been incurring. His father was an alcoholic. Well, all he did was, waste his money on drinking, and it kept putting them more and more in debt. He was very abusive to Darth Bane, I keep calling him Darth Bane. His actual birth name was Dessel. So Dessel is on a planet called Apatros. Like I said, he's mining there. His father was an abusive alcoholic who's been dead for a few years now, and Dessel is just kind of working, to try and pay off his own debt and his father's debt. He's slowly getting there, but it's going to be years of work, and he just wants off the planet. He wants to, start his life anew. And one way he kind of helps lower his debt a little bit is he'll go to the one cantina not on the planet, but in the area that he works, because it's really just the mine where the workers sleep, and like a cantina and maybe 1 or 2 other little shops. So the workers are always in and out of the cantina when they're not on shift. So Dessel would go in there, and he would, hustle Sabak. Now, Sabak, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like the card game 21, obviously different numbers and rules. But it's very similar. Instead of, trying not to go over 21, it's 26. And of course, there's different things because it's Star Wars. It can't be exactly 21. Galaxy far, far away. But he goes in there and he always hustles. And he happens to go in the one night, and there are, Republic soldiers there. And they're there because whatever they mine on the planet, the Republic uses to help, I think, fuel their ships, or it helps their military. And all these troops are there, and they go there to try and recruit, these miners. Like, hey, who wants to, do something greater with their life and join the Grand Army of the Republic? Now, this is, of course, not the Clone Army. This is, 1,000 years before the Clone Army. And at this point, the Republic is fighting against the Sith Army, which is such a cool concept. Because at this point in the galaxy, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of Sith, just like there's hundreds and thousands of Jedi. But the problem is, we see later on in the book, at this point in time, the Sith are going by the Brotherhood. So they kind of have one leader, even though he refuses to say, I am the leader. They all kind of look up to him. But as we see throughout the book, the problem with the Sith is, since all Sith seek power and they want to be, the best, they're always at each other. And, that's always their downfall over the years. Long story short, Dessel hustles these troopers. Troopers get a little too drunk, a little too pissy. They wait until the cantina closes, find him, try and beat the crap out of him. But Dessel, who thought he was only just kind of smart enough, had some kind of skill to know what the next card would be. So these Republic troopers thought he was cheating. They go to beat him up. He defends himself, and he winds up killing one of the Republic troopers. So obviously at that point, it's time for him to go. He sneaks off world thanks to the help of the owner of the cantina, a Nemoidian, which was cool to see. The Nemoidians, of course, are, Viceroy Gunray and, his whole species that we see in the prequels. The stunted slime. So he helps get Dessel off-world because he happens to know people that work for the Sith Empire, which is pretty cool. So it's like, I can get you out of here, but you're going to wind up having to work for the Sith, army. It's the only way you're not going to get killed or arrested or anything, because the Republic wants you dead now. So Dessel gets taken to one of many at this point Sith temples in the galaxy. And right away, the Sith that finds him first, when he's brought in, is like, okay, this kid is something. There's something here. He could just feel it in the Force. So they actually take him to the Sith Academy on Korriban, which was in Legends the world of the Sith. I don't remember the name of the world that we saw in the Rise of Skywalker. That's supposed to be the Sith world now. In my mind, that's just kind of one of the other ones. Korriban is the real one. Now, when he gets there, they say, hey, we're not calling you Dessel. If you're going to become a Sith, you have to, leave everything behind you. What will your new name be? It could be whatever you want. It could be, Darth Dandelion if you want. But he kind of sits there and thinks to himself about how his father always said, you're the bane of my existence. And he's like, Bane. And they're like, okay. So he starts to learn, the ways of the Sith under multiple masters. And he immediately gets the hang of it. The one that first found him is like, okay, looks like I was on the right track. This kid is really capable. And there's kind of whispers and rumors among some of the masters, including the ones, the higher-ups in this Brotherhood. They think he could be almost like Anakin with the Chosen One. I'm drawing a blank. I'll try and either put it on screen, or when I remember it, I will say it. But they have their own version of the Chosen One, and they immediately think oh man, this could be him. And a few weeks, months go by. He continues to train. He continues to learn and show capability. But what happens at one point is, as these Sith apprentices spend more and more time training and learning, they have the opportunity to challenge each other in duels. And he gets really cocky, and the other Sith notice this, and one of the other Sith trainees, apprentices, I challenge Bane. Because he thought, Bane's only been here, a couple of weeks. Who does he think he is that he's so capable? They fight. Bane gets the upper hand. Actually, no, I apologize. The other Sith gets the upper hand, almost kills Bane, but Bane reaches out with the Force, I believe to Force choke him, and just never lets go. And within a few seconds, this kid is dead, and everyone's like, whoa. So right away, Bane is like, oh, I'm about to be kicked out, or maybe even, executed for this. I just killed, a fellow Sith. But luckily enough, the higher up Siths were like, no, you You proved your point. He was weak.
He was weak and foolish, like his father.
And, you took advantage and you did what you had to do. Then a couple of weeks go by, and now you have a Zabrak, which is the species Darth Maul and his brother Savage are. There's 3 Zabrak, Sith trainees there. And, the oldest, the strongest, the one who apparently is like the greatest, apprentice in the entire temple. Bane gets really cocky at this point. He's like, I challenge him. Zabrak beats the shit out of him, basically to like an inch of death, which is really wild. And at that point, all the other Sith Masters are like, oh, he was just, he had his 15 minutes of fame, Bane, and we're done with him now. I don't know if you could hear that thunder and lightning. That'd be pretty cool if that'd be in the background. How perfect for a Sith podcast. And at this point in the book, we're also seeing 2 other side stories. One is the head of the Brotherhood is in an all-out battle to try and eliminate the Jedi, who are being led by Jedi Master Hoth, just like the planet. I don't know if there's any similarity or if they were just like, oh, we'll just use that name. And they're over some planet far out in the galaxy, duking it out with ships, and then all the Jedi go onto the planet, and all the Sith go onto the planet. It's just full-out war for months and months and months. And it's getting to the point that the Sith are like losing, and they have to like really just send everyone there. And one of the they actually have a former Jedi traitor in their midst, and her name is Githany, and she is becoming like the main, Sith like apprentice. She's the big deal. But she winds up going to Korriban to actually train, and that's where she finds Bane, kind of like sulking like in the Sith library, just reading his books because he's like, oh, I failed, I'm no good anymore. And she's like, oh, I can take advantage of this guy, because she knows that he was capable. So she says to herself, let me learn everything I can from him, and then just toss him aside and just move up the ranks. But little does she know that Bane in his own mind is like, no, I have more I can do, and I'm gonna, outclass everybody. And he even takes secret training sessions with one of the Sith Masters, like in the middle of the night in secret. He's helping her in secret, and he just like, he knows, he's like, I'm gonna, one point or another, I'm gonna betray both of you. So eventually, he gets stronger and stronger again. And he basically tells the Sith Masters, hey, we're doing this wrong. I've been studying the ancient ways of the Sith, and we'll never win. We can't have this brotherhood. We can't look up to one person. We need to, either be equals or basically fight it out to that. There can't be this many of us. We'll never beat the Jedi. He gets kicked out. Well, not kicked out. He gets told to F off, basically. So he goes on his own. He goes to a couple of different planets to find ancient Sith temples. And he actually winds up finding a holocron of Darth Revan. And he learned so much from Revan, which is really cool to read. And then basically at this point, Bane has left the temple. He left Githany. And now at this point, he finally puts it together, and he creates at that point the rule of 2. He's like, there can only be one master, to learn the knowledge, and one apprentice, to seek it out, basically. And that's all it can be. And then he goes to that planet where the fighting's going on between the Jedi and Sith. He's like, I'm going to wipe them both out right now. He's like, I don't think I can. We probably won't end the Jedi today, but I will end the Sith as they are. Goes to the planet. He eliminates all the Sith, including Githany, by using this Sith move that was called, the Force Storm, where the Sith all combined, joined together, used their power, because they were smart enough to be like, if we use all our power, we'll create this Force Storm, and we'll probably not destroy the planet, but destroy it to such a point that we'll destroy all the Jedi here too. and we'll just like kind of both die out, and that'll be it. Now, of course, not all the Jedi are on this planet. There's Jedi throughout the galaxy. There's plenty of Jedi in the, out in Coruscant in the Jedi Temple. But the idea was like, hey, we're going to basically take almost all of them out with us, and that'll be it. Bane convinces them to do that, which is wild. This happens. Most of the Jedi are killed, including Hoth, and then Githany is killed in the cave. They do this in a cave. Githany's killed. All the other Sith Masters are killed. But of course, Darth Bane was smart enough to be like, no, you guys do it. I'll stay back and watch. Somehow, I forget how exactly he did it, but he convinced them to not be a part of it. And then he basically leaves the planet. He's like, that's it. Now I just need to find an apprentice. But at this point in time, he's the only Sith in the galaxy, which is, it's so cool. But then the last chapter of the book, the last couple of pages, as he's leaving the planet, he manages to find a young girl that survived. She's maybe 10 years old. Her name was Rain. And he looks at her. He's like, you're a Jedi. She's like, well, I was. It seems like the Jedi I know more. My master's just been killed. And he goes to kill her. She doesn't like hesitate. She kind of like gives like the Sith answer, like, go ahead, And then he's like, whoa, do you know the ways of the dark side? And the last sentence is, I am young, but I can learn. And we'll have to see, I'll have to see what happens in part 2 and 3 when they both come out in the Essential Legends collection in September. Now, I'm not giving it the review it deserves, but I gotta say, this was incredible. I couldn't put the book down once I started. I loved everything about it. The way it really went into detail about the failure of the Sith, the true power of the dark side, and just how smart Bane was. He knew it's like, we'll never beat the Jedi in, straight on combat. They're too smart. They're too capable. They have too much sympathy in the Republic and in the galaxy. Even if we have like these massive armies, because the Sith had armies that were made up of like foot soldiers. Not everyone in the army, had a red lightsaber. There were plenty of just average citizens who were just, recruited. But, Bane could just see through it all. That over, hundreds and thousands of years, the Sith lost their way. Just like over the next 1,000 years, the Jedi lost their way, which is let the Sith rise again. I just gotta say, I'm really excited to see where the next 2 books go with this, to really understand where the Rule of Two can go, where it can take Bane, where it can take his new apprentice, and how they can lay the groundwork for everyone who comes after them, including arguably the 2 most iconic and strongest Sith of all time, Darth Sidious and Darth Vader, who were, of course, the last 2 Sith. And I'm just kind of at a loss for words. Like I said, I read the book so quick. I really loved it. I was really into it. Couldn't put it down. Here at B grade reading level, we give an official B grade. And we're giving this book an A+. This was just a phenomenal read. I would almost recommend it to someone who's not, a massive Star Wars fan. If you know a little bit, if you know enough about Star Wars, I would still say, read this. If you're a hardcore fan and you haven't read it, you gotta read it now. You gotta go out and buy the Essential Legends collection. Buy all the books that they've put out so far. They're putting more out in the fall. They'll be putting more out again in spring 2022. It's awesome. It's a great book. I truly loved it, and I cannot wait. I am on the edge of my seat waiting to pick up the second book in the trilogy when it comes out in either August or September. Thanks for listening. I'm glad you stopped by. I hope you stayed the whole time. If you did, thank you. Please leave a like, comment. If you aren't already, please subscribe. And we'll see you again soon on another B-grade reading level here on the Greycast. Until then, never forget the code of the Sith. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. through victory my chains are broken. The Force shall free me.